Because Jesus is correcting the people's understanding of what God's law is. And I'll tell you what we're going to see. He says, clear away all this other stuff you've heard. You've heard all this stuff. Let me tell you what God's law really is. And what Jesus says is God's law is not so much about actions as it is about the attitude that precedes, surrounds, and prompts the action. Did you know most of us can hide the actions? I would say most of us in this room are not murderers. All of us in this room are guilty of having hatred from time to time, which Jesus said is equal. Probably the vast majority in this room are not adulterers, but probably a large percentage at one point or another in life are guilty of looking at someone with a desire for gratification from them, which Jesus said is equal with adultery. See, it's the attitude that is far bigger to Jesus than the action. If you can change the attitude, the action won't come. But if you suppress the action and keep the attitude, God says you're guilty. See, Jesus is elevating the law, but here we go. Jesus shocked those people that heard him. I mean, what we just read while you were standing up, they heard. He preached it. It was his longest recorded message, and I only read to you a little bit of it. And Jesus launches into a lesson on God's law, and Jesus did not give a set of rules for them to conform to in outward obedience. See, that's what he says. This is not about what you're growing up in, all these rules. He said God asked for an internal transformation that is humanly impossible, a change that can't be earned by trying hard or by trying to keep the rules. What God offers is a heart that loves to do God's will revealed in his law. From my heart, if the eternal, infinite God of the universe wants orderliness, I do too. If the eternal, infinite God of the universe wants holiness, I do too. And in my inward parts, I long for God's holy, righteous perfection. But I'm so aware that I'm not. And Jesus said, how do you balance that? Well, it's only the new heart that God graciously gives to all who believe in him, who are hopelessly sinful and unable to ever be good enough and cry out to him for mercy, is the answer. You see, we have a new operating system. We have a very new core processor that was implanted in us at the instant of salvation and regeneration. And so those who heard him were shocked because they had been taught a religion of just external rules that you could keep. They heard Jesus point out the error of their mere outward behavior. They were focused on externals. Jesus was focused on internals. And so what did Jesus do? Jesus took the law back to what God intended it for it to be.